Welcome to Goldboys Live, presented by Pickett Sports Boom Fantasy, breaking down a stacked NBA card. We'll get into some awards, some futures. Brad Thomas, Brian versus the Books. Boys, this time next week, we are going to be done with the regular season. We're going to be talking about playing matchups. We're going to be talking about playoff odds, playoff series head-to-head prices. So good things ahead. The weather's a little warmer here on the East Coast. Brian, Brad, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, I think I was gonna say that not just go first, but I think that sometimes we do too much where we start talking too much before the show, and then I forget we actually have a show to talk about. We give a lot of our opinions just by
We
casually
did.
talking, and it feels good to be on the air. We can actually give some of our opinions where they matter.
As somebody who heard your opinions before the show, trust me, you didn't waste anything too good, so don't worry about it.
I think this is wild. Like, it's crazy because it always feels like such a roller coaster with sports, right? Like we had college basketball season and then March Madness, and then boom, it ended with back-to-back nights of great sports with the women's game and the men's game. Then now we have the NBA. We're talking about MVP futures because they're kind of wrapping up, talking about the playoffs coming up soon. And then next thing you know, we're going to be sitting on our hands betting baseball. I know Brian will be excited, but guys like
Yeah,
me who don't really bet baseball will be like twiddling their thumbs. It's
I
exciting,
love
but
the
it's also
baseball season,
sad.
man. I actually like this time of the year because I'm a big baseball guy in terms of betting. And I think it's always nice that the last week of the regular season for NBA, I usually severely cut my volume and
Yeah.
just focus on baseball because man, some of these games, someone texted me today saying they want to fade Donovan Mitchell, and the sole reason was just the Cavs even have a reason to try anymore. Like it's you're at the point of the season where it becomes harder to kind of cap some of these things because you have teams that they start trying to dance around their schedule to find where they want to be seated. Like if like some games it's like, hey, we don't want to win this game because if we lose this game, we get this seed, like this and that. So it gets really complicated really fast.
And it'll be really hard. You can't really do it in the West because I know these teams will want to get to 6 to avoid. Well, you want to avoid the play-in at 7, but you want to avoid the Suns who look like they're going to be 4, and you'd rather play the Kings. So you can't really manipulate that until the last day. But we're going to see some really strange stuff the last day of the season with some of these teams that are locked into to certain seeds. Some of these teams resting, so it's a lot to keep an eye on. It's a lot like Week 17 NFL where
Yeah.
you have to just keep track of motivation, all the moving parts. There's a lot to it. Before we get to the games, we got a bunch of games tonight. Embiid now minus 230 favorite at DraftKings to win the MVP. Is there a bet to be made here? Is that the right price? Brad, I'll start with you.
I mean, I feel like the only way you're betting in this market is if you already have Embiid and already have Joker at good prices and you want to get some of Giannis. But tonight just feels like, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later when we get to that game, but tonight just feels like the MVP night. They win this game. He puts up a 30 and 12 stat line. You're going to crown him. People are looking for a reason not to have a back-to-back-to-back MVP. Like it's not even anything on Joker. It's not a knock on him, but they're actively looking for a reason. And there's like when Embiid sat out the last time, they were like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" Now this is his chance. This is your chance, Embiid. Play this game, win, put up a good stat line. It's yours.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things too where it kind of felt like it was Embiid's award for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and then he sat, and then like, oh man, it's definitely going back to Jokic, and then Jokic just sat 3 games. He might be shut down for the season. We'll see if he plays again. I mean, I'm not saying he will or won't, but missing 3 games and it's looking very much like he might just not play these final 5 games. And if that's the case, like you said, it's Joel Embiid's award to lose, but he can do himself a lot of favors by just going
Yeah.
out there and doing what he's good at, which is putting up a lot of points. So hopefully we see that today as a Sixers fan. I would love to see him score a 30, 35, 40, you name it.
Is Giannis worth a shot at 6 to 1 or no?
I think like Brad said, I think at this point, if you're betting this market, it's almost like if you have these two guys at good prices and you wanted to add or like open a position to Giannis, if like so I haven't beat 11 to 1. I took a small position on Giannis, but I think it's just so tough unless you like if you're betting it straight up without a position already. Because what is Giannis going to end with 64 or 65 games played? And although that's not the biggest thing in the world, I do think it's tough to win the MVP with that little games played because the narrative was, oh, Embiid couldn't win it because he only plays 68. So if Giannis is playing 65, 64, it's really tough.
All right, games tonight. A lot of them. Some of them matter. Some of them don't. Let's just get right into it. And again, we don't have to spend a lot of time on these because want to make it enjoyable and not just lag on about these games that really aren't that interesting. But Cavs laying 5 in Orlando. Orlando is on the precipice of getting eliminated. Nice season, but they're not going to get there except for cashing their season win total over. Cavs laying 5. Any interest from either of you guys in this game?
Not really. When I was the line has moved a little bit since yesterday. I handicapped this game yesterday, and I was trying to find reasons to take the Cavs because I was just like, God, they're just so much better than Orlando. But what motivation are the Cavs going to have coming to Orlando and playing in this game, right? I think it's going to could be turned into a dud game for the Cavs. So if you want a little action on Orlando, I wouldn't be shocked, if Orlando pulls up the upset. It'd be one of those things where, oh, we died fighting, if that makes sense, getting eliminated from the playoffs, but you still went down swinging. So I just couldn't find a good enough angle for me to put real money on this game.
Yeah, I think the only angle is, as Brad was saying, is the only angle I could see if you're a player prop guy like I am, like, is maybe trying to find a good under for the Cavs because, as Brad said, like the motivation is probably not there. I mean, the Cavs are one of those teams that are kind of just stuck. I mean, we're at the point where in the East, the Sixers are kind of stuck at 3. The Cavs are kind of stuck at 4. It would take like almost impossible things for them to lose their spot. So at that point, it becomes a little bit tougher for to back a team like the Cavs.
And boy, that will be a hell of a first round series, Cavs and Knicks. That'll be fun. You got the whole Mitchell subplot. Both are good teams. It'll be a competitive first round no matter what, unlike most years in the NBA where you get
Hopefully
a lot of
Randall's healthy for it.
Right. It's a good point. Yeah. But it should be a great first round. I'm excited for it.
Because as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Julius Randle, I think he's a huge piece if they're going to be playing the Cavs. They need the size.
No doubt. Absolutely. Bucks laying 13.5 in Washington. You guys can have this game. I want no part of it. Any interest for you guys in this one?
Dude, honestly, the same thing as last game is the only thing I looked at as I was looking at maybe like a Drew Holiday under 18.5 points, something like that, where if we've been making jokes all year about teams that should get crushed always end up winning, but this is a game where the Wizards are out of it. They might play for pride, but they're not even going to play most of their players, and it's just you could maybe get an under on a guy like Drew Holiday that and hope that he's just out of the game before he gets to 20 points.
Bucks are still motivated by the 1 seed, by the way. I should have mentioned that.
Yeah, but I feel like they're in a position where they're motivated for the 1 seed, but as soon as they get up 15, like I would be shocked if anyone plays in the fourth quarter as long as if they have a lead.
Yep, totally with you.
Yeah, I think the Bucks still destroy them. But that's a good problem with this time of year, right? It's like, do I really want to lay 13.5 on the road? Not really. But I mean, the Bucks are just so good. Even like with Giannis off the court, they're so good defensively. Where they playing against this Wizards team who basically has nobody. Maybe if you want to get spicy, you can bet could bet Kispert over. But I think it's even like I think his numbers are like 17 or something. I think that's like crazy high. Like I would probably bet him like 14.5, but of course that's not the line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's one of those things where 4 of the 5 starters are out for Washington. I mean, maybe you could just fade somebody and hope that this turns into a bloodbath where Milwaukee doesn't need anything.
Yep, totally agree. A more competitive game. Oh, no, wait. No, it's not at all. The Heat laying 13 to the Pistons. We get a lot of these tonight, man. It's a wonky end of the year. Brian, start me off here. You got anything Heat, Pistons, or should we pass this game?
Yeah, we could pass it. I mean, honestly, the only thing I looked at is I actually think it's a really good matchup for Bam and Adebayo, but as we talked about earlier, I think it's just so tough to like. I think I always say it's like a car salesman, like, oh, sell me on this prop, and it's just so tough to sell me on a prop in these 13, 14-point games where you don't know what they're gonna look like because once again, if they get up big, we've always been seeing in the NBA that you can rest in the fourth quarter, but we're at the point where maybe they play like 22 minutes. Some of these guys because if they're up 40 against the Pistons, I don't think Spo wants these guys out there banging around.
Yeah, I don't have anything for this game either. I just think it's funny, like the comments from James Wiseman where he's like, "This is really his rookie year." Like, I just think good timing. We could.
Did we lose Brad?
I think so. I think we.
Thank God we can shorten the show. We can shorten the show up now. Brad's gone
for sure.
Yeah. All right. Next game. Yeah, like I said, these props that you're seeing in these games, the only thing that's annoying is that they're getting set as if they're not 13-point favorite. You know what I mean? Like Like if you look at it, Butler's 24.5, Hero's 19.5, Bam's like 18.5. Those are the props you'll see throughout the season in like close competitive games. And now you're trying to sell me on an over in a game that should very well be ugly as hell. I think it's tough, a tough buy-in.
And Miami, they're not going to catch Brooklyn, so Brooklyn's going to be in the play-in here. I mean, Brooklyn's going to avoid the play-in. Brooklyn's going to be the 6th seed, and the Heat are 2 games up on the Hawks for the 7-8. So the Heat are pretty much locked into the 7 here. So there's motivation, but not a ton of motivation. They're not going to punt the game, but they are going to prefer to win it. So keep that in mind if you're betting this game from motivation standpoint. Boy, you just go down the line here. Our next game, Raptors laying 14.5 to the Hornets. Brad is back. Goldboys Live, Pickett Sports, Boom Fantasy. Brad, start us off here. Raptors laying 14.5 to Charlotte, man. It's just a ton of crazy high lines here.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I laid out this amazing congratulations to the Pistons on the amazing tank job they did. And then I didn't hear anything from you guys. I was like, wow, they really hated that. I'll never say that ever again. Then I realized
one win in the last 21 games is it's skillful. It's I mean, when you're playing Killian Hayes for 38 minutes a night, it's not as hard as you think.
Yeah, I'm not going to be on this game either. I do think 14 is a lot, but like we're also talking about the nobody Hornets. They're not going to have anybody playing. Just way too many points for a team like the Raptors. Like the Raptors are like one of those teams like the Timberwolves who lost being 19.5-point favorites. They're a team who could get beat by anybody any night in the NBA.
I still can't believe they lost that game. That was the biggest loss straight up since 1995 I saw.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And someone owed
and they needed the game too. Like they needed like yeah, I'm not even gonna break down my thoughts on this game. I'm just not touching it. I think it's a very gross game.
Just when we thought the Timberwolves were playing better, they lost a few terrible games, lost the Suns, they lost the Lakers, where they had a big lead, and the Lakers just stormed past them. And then just one of the great upsets in NBA history on Sunday. So Timberwolves now laying 1.5 against the Nets. Nets have played a little better this last week or two. They're starting to look a little more organized. They've got Bridges. They got some length. It's not a terrible team. Laying 1.5 are the Timberwolves. Brian, start us off.
If anything, I mean, the thing you just mentioned, I lean the Nets here at plus money. I mean, anything can happen in these games, but yeah, I mean, they both have something to play for. And I just think we just watched the Timberwolves blow like what it was a 9-point lead against one of the worst teams you can imagine, where you can maybe back them here and say, oh, they're gonna be so much more motivated. But I lost all respect for that team. Like I feel like they needed that game so bad and they didn't have it there. And traveling to Brooklyn here, I do think the Nets have been playing a little bit better, and I think it's a great matchup for your guy, Mikal Bridges. I don't know what his threes are at, but
they've been doing 2.5 lately, which
yeah,
it's
one of those things.
He's a good player.
His points are 27.5 yet again, and he's just crushing those lines, but it still makes you hesitant to place it. But yeah, I do lean the Nets here. I just think they win the depth battle, and as long as they can do a decent job keeping some of these Cat or Gobert off the glass, I think I do lean the Nets here.
You talked me into it. Over 2.5 minus 120 for Bridges threes. Why the hell not?
I like it. I don't think
he's gonna play 48 minutes. Like,
right?
Like,
yeah. He could. Yeah, it's a good point. He can play a long time without getting tired. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, he has such a great matchup in this one, but I don't think I'd want any action on this game from a side perspective, just because it's like I think if I were playing Brooklyn, it's because I think they are better. But I just think the Timberwolves really need this bounce back spot.
Yeah, they do. They need it more.
The motivation factor is what kind of scares me there. But it's such a great matchup. Like if you want to take, I would say you could take Dinwiddie points and you could take Bridges points or Bridges points. One at 26.5, one at 17.5. I think both are great looks. You might hit both, but I think you'll hit one out of the two and have a good game to watch.
Oh man, I might join you on that. I don't usually take threes, but I'm looking. FanDuel has Bridges at 27.5 points and 2.5 threes at minus 150. But DraftKings has 26.5 and they have minus 120 for that 2.5 threes. I might end up being that play because I didn't really get a huge
which play, just to clarify for the audience.
Mikal Bridges points and or threes. I think that's a good price. Might have to do that. Yeah. McAfee says Cat from New Jersey is gonna have a huge night. Yeah, that's all I want to see in my timeline is Cat grabbing the microphone and being like, my mama, like all this whatever. He's he's an interesting guy. So I mean, he should have a good game as well. But I might hop on that Mikal Bridges threes.
Sixers laying 2 against the Celtics. This is one of the few games that's not a 13-14 point spread tonight. Interesting game. Seems like everybody's gonna play. Any take here, Brad? You can start. Sixers laying a couple points against Boston.
Yeah, I get it. I get it why the Sixers are laying the points here. This is the Joel Embiid legacy games. I kind of side with the 76ers here as well. I think that Joel Embiid, he has a tough matchup. It's not like he's going to go out there and just cupcake, but Joel Embiid's going to have a monster game. I just think he knows, although he says he doesn't want to win the MVP, deep down inside, MVPs are remembered forever. So I like the 76ers to win and cover in this one.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I think it's one of those games where you get the Sixers at home, which is a massive difference. I mean, they're 29-11 at home. So I do think they play a lot better from the home crowd. And Joel Embiid kind of gets fired up against the home crowd. So it's going to be a matter of if you believe that Al Horford truly is the Embiid killer or whatever they call him. But it's a tough matchup. But I do think he's been scoring a little bit less recently. His volume hasn't been as much there. But as you mentioned, he's been kind of making the right plays. He's passing out a lot more and kind of playing better team basketball. But this is a game where he should, you hate to say it, but in a game like this, I mean, I would let him take the ball 20, 30 shots. I would just let him kind of go out and do his thing. So hopefully we see that tonight. But I do think it's a good spot there for the Sixers.
We mentioned Jokic before, the other MVP candidate. Denver laying 9 against Houston. Do we think Jokic is going to play? That was a tough loss for the Warriors in Denver the other night. The Nuggets were able to get it done after falling behind early without Jokic. Now they're laying 9. Wow, what are you looking at in this game, Brian?
Let me check to see. Now that it matters, I want to see what his actual designation is right now. He is listed. Oh, he's listed out, but he's questionable. Okay, so it's doing that thing where he's projected out, but he's listed questionable. Yeah, I mean, there's no real reason for these stars to play in this game. They're kind of locked into that spot, and I mean, you heard the coaches say it, that they said with Jokic that he could play if he needed to, and that terminology makes it sound like don't worry about the playoffs, he'll be fine. But there's no reason to have him out there in these meaningless games. So, I mean, you could look at, what's Michael Porter Jr.'s line? They don't have anything. Yeah, so that's the thing. They're not going to put any lines out until you know. So if you get a good line for a guy like MPJ that takes a lot of threes against this matchup, that's a good look there. But yeah, you won't get any lines until we hear Jokic news, which is kind of dumb because I don't think he's going to play, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's going to play, and I wish we would have lines. I probably would take Gordon, points, rebounds, and assists. Guessing it would be a favorable line, but no telling what the line they're going to put up 5 minutes before the game starts. But I'm not going to lay 9. No, not happening.
Are we taking the 9? Can you bet the Rockets here?
Can you bet
the Rockets plus the 9?
I think the Rockets are too good at being bad. Like I think they're too good at. I mean, I'll tell you this.
How about this?
Maybe take
this
the
might
first
be the
half.
play here.
Maybe take first half for the Rockets. The Rockets play well until like the third quarter when they start to realize that they have a chance to win, and they're like, "All right, let's pump the brakes on this." Yeah.
I think we're missing something here. 2 teams with really nothing to play for. Isn't that a good recipe for the over? Both just go up and down the court, take a bunch of shots.
I like that. That's a good.
You don't guard me, I won't guard you. We'll each go for 30. Nobody cares about this game, so you're not gonna play any defense. It's over 230. That might be a bet. No.
I like that actually, especially for a team like the Rockets. That you're gonna have Jalen Green shooting 40 to 50 times. They don't really know what half court offense is. They just kind of run all game. So yeah, and these are 2 teams that have horrible defensive efficiencies. Honestly, they don't really play defense as a team. So yeah, I do like that actually.
I'm in. Over 230. It's a play.
Or just take Jalen Green and oh my, I'm drawing a blank. And Kevin Porter both over.
Yeah.
But you have to put him in a parlay.
I have a thing with Jalen Green where I used to like take his unders a lot because he's so inefficient.
Yeah.
But I also can't take his overs because he's taking 40 shots. But whether he's 7 for 40 or 24 for 40, like you don't know.
That's facts.
Yeah, so I like the over. To me, 230. That's certainly doable. The Kings are in New Orleans. Pelicans laying 4. Pelicans have played a lot better. I don't know if we'll ever see Zion again. It sounds like he's getting closer, but man, we can't cash our Kings tickets yet. We still need either 1 win or 1 Suns loss. Brian, are you nervous? I don't know. Brad, do you have Kings tickets with us?
No, I don't.
Yeah, dude. I'm just mad that they blew it against the Spurs. We
Oh my
literally need
god.
half a game. We need half a game from
We
either
need
the
a tie. We
Suns.
need somebody to tie. That's all we need is
Yeah,
one
like
tie.
whether it's the Suns losing and they don't look like they're ever gonna lose with KD, or the Kings to win. And I can't believe this is. It just sucks because from the Kings' standpoint, if they beat the Spurs, they could have shut people down.
Right.
They
Yeah.
could have just mailed in the rest of the year, and
And
they
now the
lost.
schedule's not easy. Although
Yeah,
Dallas might shut it down. They
and
do
they
have
need
Dallas
they want
tomorrow.
that they want that 2 seed. Obviously, they want to get that division. So they must be pissed that they blew against the Spurs. So this is one of those games where I know I'm biased because I have these Kings tickets. I kind of like the +4 for the Kings only because we talked about it with the Timberwolves with motivation. There's nothing more in this world the Kings want than to just get this win out of the way. So I think I do lean them. But yeah, like you were talking about, the Pelicans have been playing a lot better. It's just a matter of if push comes to shove, I think the Kings have a lot to play for. Not saying the Pelicans don't, but they would love to just get this over with.
I I think it's a big Brandon Ingram night. And like when you say stuff like that, you always get so excited before you look at the lines and you say it's like he's got to score 30 points just for him to hit his regular line. It's like not as enticing. From a
Yeah.
side perspective, I do like the Kings a little bit, but it feels like the Pelicans are kind of putting stuff together
Yeah, they
at
are.
a good time for them. So I wouldn't be betting it. Man, I don't have anything for this game. I'm like struggling to find some good value in this, but I do lean Kings, but it's too scary with the way the Pelicans are playing, especially with Brandon Ingram's playing.
Yep, I agree with all that. I bet the
Is it
Pelicans when it opened just as a emotional hedge, so I don't have to sit here and sweat the Kings division. So, but it was minus, I think minus
is it
120. It's creeped all the way up to 4. Like this line has moved a lot. I don't know if it's
yeah,
because the Pelicans have played well. People are down on the Kings because the other night. I mean, you're late to the party if you're laying the 4 with the Pelicans.
is
Though.
it isn't it funny that the 3 seed is kind of quote unquote locked up, and the only team that could beat them is the team that's like 4 games back. Like it's
Amazing,
literally like it's like the West is so it's like cemented at 1, cemented at 2,
right?
should be 3, and then like the rest of the West is just all like in a cluster. Like there's 3
Yes.
teams up here, and everybody else is just fighting for their life.
Yep. Yep. So I agree. I mean, I would look towards the Pelicans, but I think, boy, can you get a cheaper money line? What is it, 165 on the money line? I just think you're too late on New Orleans. So I think that line is about right. The Grizzlies are hosting Portland. Portland looking for back-to-back historic upsets, a 17.5-point line. As Memphis hosts Portland, Memphis looking to lock in the 2. They're not going to catch Denver for the 1. Brad, start us off here. Grizzlies and the Blazers. Any reason to bet this game?
No reason to bet this game, and like definitely no reason to lay the 17.5. It's not surprising like that the Trailblazers were the team that won that game, like that won the historic game as being an underdog, because all year, like when Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard were out, they would have these massive spreads and they would cover. Remember most notably when we talked about that OKC line where OKC was laying out 11.5 points to them.
Yeah.
They're just a team that covers. They just have a bunch of dudes who are some misfits, sharps playing really good basketball. I'm not laying 17, not a chance.
Yeah, I honestly the one thing I can look for in this game is John Morant's line is 25.5. I kind of like the over. I know I kind of contradicts myself saying you can't take overs in these kind of spreads, but man, he's been shooting terribly the last 2 games. He shot 4 for 11 2 games ago, and then last game he shot 7 for 16. He gets such a plus matchup against a team that I don't even know what they know what defense is. That I think it's a spot where if you hope he can see like even like 25 minutes, I think it's a game where he might want to try to get back on track in terms of scoring because the last 2 games have been really rough for him.
Let's see. Next, we got Hawks Bulls. Boy, the playing extravaganza. Both teams sort of jockeying for position here. Bulls laying 3.5. Give Bulls credit. They played a lot better recently. They were down 20 against Memphis on, what was it, Sunday, and ended up winning by 20. Just a strange game, but Bulls laying 3.5. Brian, start me off here. Anything for Bulls and the Hawks?
Yeah, I don't even like either side of this. I don't like a 3-point spread in this game. I just think, as you mentioned, it's kind of they have similar motivations here. So if you're looking at in terms of spread like props, because I don't think the spread's where it's at. I do think it's a good game for Clint Capella. I think Clint Capella matches up well with Vucevic down low. And other than that, I really was looking at some of these lines. I mean, Pat Bev's 5.5, like it's like the weirdest group of guys and misfits that I just found this game pretty gross on most aspects.
Yeah, I didn't like this game, but I kind of wanted to take John Collins under on his points, rebounds, and assists. Like his numbers at 19.5. Like well, he's had a few misses recently at 16.5. I don't know if it's not that it's never the matchup for John Collins. It's the
It's just
motivation.
motivation.
If
Yeah.
he wants to go out there and wants to play good football. So, I mean, good basketball, excuse me.
It's okay. We've only been doing this show for like a few months now. It's all right. You'll get a hang of it.
But yeah, I would that'd probably be my only play. I might lock it in. And then this will be the one game where he has 20 and 10, and I'm like, well,
Yeah, there was you talk about motivation for him. There was a point where I played his under in rebounds like 3 times in a row, where after the trade deadline, when he didn't get moved, he went from averaging like 7.2 rebounds a game to he had a stretch where he was averaging like 2.1. Like it was like the sharpest like drop off of rebounding, and the only thing that changed was whether or not he wanted to rebound. So I do think it's a good game for him. And Trae Young is still questionable. He's day to day with this non-COVID illness. That's worth monitoring. But yeah, I think if he does play, I might take some action on Clint Capella. If he doesn't play, probably won't, because it probably would hurt Clint a lot there without having someone to pass to him, because he's not too skilled with ball in hand.
The Lakers are out to a 10-point favorite in Utah. They've been playing really well, really good defensively. They're getting a great effort out of Davis lately, who's just looked, boy, he's such an up and down player when he's healthy and he looks right, man. Oh,
Does our MVP, we still alive for our MVP tickets from the start
you
of the
never
year?
know how these guys are going to vote. Recency bias, if he goes for 50 or 60 points tonight, he gets right back into it. But boy, 10's a lot here. I know Utah's sort of pulling the plug. I don't have a lot on this game. Brad, any interest for you? Lakers laying 10 here?
No interest, but I did do this yesterday. I added more to Lakers winning the West.
Wow, what number?
NBA championship. I believe it was 16. I already have like a 60, but it was such a small bet at 60. I wanted to get a little bit more skin in it. They're just playing really good basketball, and I just feel like the LeBron factor, like in the playoffs, people are like, "Oh crap, we're playing LeBron." Or LeBron has that other gear in the playoffs. And if AD continues to play out of his mind, defensively is really where you want to talk about too. They've gotten so much better in their defensive rating. So I took a little bit let me make sure what the number was. I believe it was, every time I keep trying to hit my open bets, it just closes me out. But I think it's 16 to win it all, or to win the West. I'm trying to remember right now. It's loading. I'll let you know after you give me your take.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where I think 9.5 is a little bit too much. I mean, there's no market in this game, which is big helpful. D'Lo just got ruled to questionable, which usually if you get the late questionable tag, you're not going to play. So the one thing I'll look for too is the Olynyk Clinic, Kelly Olynyk, 12.5 RA. I think that's a good look for him without marketing. That's one where I didn't bet it yet. It's a little juice at -130, but he's been doing so well with this team with from the R and the A standpoint. I mean, I know Ryan Props is cashing full Olynyk assist ladder, so I think 12.5 RA for him is a good look. And I was going to say Austin Reeves 7.5 RA as well, and what should be a faster paced game. But if D'Lo's out, who knows what that's going to open back up with.
And 16-1 for the Lakers to win the title at DraftKings, plus 750 to win the West. That's pretty much the consensus, man. I get the idea. I like how they're playing. I would just like, I don't know. I would like a little more bang for my buck there, especially if I got to get they might play the Suns in the first round. Then you might be better off going series by series. I don't hate it. I would just like a little more.
No, that's totally fair. I just feel like I'm a believer, and then I want a little more skin just in case they do make some noise, and I could hedge a little bit. Because I could imagine like their series price, they'll probably be like plus 240 if they get far, if they get deep. Which is not terrible. I can hedge out of a 60 and a 16 at -200.
Yeah, for sure. Be curious, boy, if it's Lakers Suns, this is a thought exercise. Lakers Suns first round, what's that series price look like?
I'd imagine they make it crazy, like -320, right?
I was gonna say 3.
Yeah, they have to make it in the 3s, and then because
man, that'd be such a nightmare for the Lakers too. That would be the nightmare.
That's a bad draw. That's a
horrible draw. Ryan Props is in the chat, so we can just end the show now. There's no reason for him to ruin our good time. But yeah, that'd be a terrible draw. I do think that they as good as they are been playing, that would just, I mean, obviously anyone doesn't want to play the Suns, but
That just be
Right.
I don't think the league. I don't think the league wants that to happen either. I don't.
Oh, I don't know. You get LeBron versus Durant in round one of a playoff series.
Yeah, but then you can't sell. You can't sell. Second round, third round of these
Right.
two teams everyone wants to watch.
I know, but that's a monster first round series if that's what it ends up being.
Gonna need some Tim Donahue action. Start fixing some games.
As it ticks down to 9.5 here, and so 9.5 now at DraftKings. Seems like a lot of points. You just don't know with these tanking teams if you can make it high enough sometimes. OKC, our little darling team, they've been good as an underdog, so I'm tempted to take the 8 here. They just seems like they have run out of gas. They have not played well this last 2 weeks or so. Struggled as big favorites against Portland. They lost a terrible game to the Hornets. They needed a buzzer beater to beat the Pistons, all as big favorites. They had a bad loss to the Pacers. Then they played okay against the Suns, but the Suns beat them in OKC the other night. OKC is probably going to get the 10 seed because they're up a game on Dallas with 3 to play. They have the tiebreaker. It looks like Dallas might shut it down. OKC now minus 600 to get in the play-in, but they've not played well. Warriors, different team at home. I'm tempted to take the 8 here. Brian, what do you say?
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where this is a no-touch game for me, only because you mentioned nail on the head there. Warriors are just so good at home. I mean, they're the worst team on the road, which is gonna really hurt them in the playoffs. I mean, they're gonna be playing a lot of home games, and I think that goes a long way in terms of I've never seen such a stark difference in a team like that. Where at home they look like, oh, that's the Warriors. I remember them 2016. They were good as hell, and then you watch them on the road and like, did they just lose by 20 to like the Spurs? Like it's like the weirdest whatever they have going on there. So yeah, I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this game. It's 31.5 points. That's one of the looks I was looking at because if they are gonna, cover this, you mentioned 8 points. The over-under is 242.5. If they're gonna keep this close, it's gonna be fast paced, and they're gonna need someone to score. And he's really been the go-to option for them. But this is just an interesting game for me because, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors at home run away with it. But at the same time, it's a lot to give this Thunder's team.
Yeah, I like the combo to get a little juice off these. The combo of playing both SGA and Curry 30 each. I just think that this is going to be a high scoring game. I can't lay the points here just because I don't trust OKC. I mean, I don't trust Golden State even as good as they are at home. But I do think both these guys get in their bag. I think this is one of those games too where you'll be able to tell early if SGA is going to hit his. He's one of those players, if he has about 14 at halftime, it's unlimited how he's going to score. But if he has like 8, then he normally ends at 29. It's so weird. Probably maybe because I bet his prop too much that I know this, but I like both guys to get 30. Then you don't have to deal with laying minus 120 for either of them.
Just feels like a high variance game where I could see OKC being up like 10 early, and the next thing you know, they're down by 15. This just seems I don't know what to expect in this game. What's the total here? Boy, it's up there. 242.5.
Yeah, 242.5.
It
should be a track meet. I mean, this should really be a fun game.
Would you take the under?
No, which would probably this should be a really fun offensive game, which probably means both teams shoot like 30%, and then it ends like 102 to like 93.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm tempted to take the 8, but I don't think it's enough for me to play it, especially just how poorly the Thunder have played here these last couple of weeks.
They've looked rough.
They've looked really bad. But maybe they're better as an underdog role, which they've sort of been that way all year, where they're good as a dog. Speaking of dogs, the Spurs getting 19 in Phoenix, 12-1 on the money line. Are we riding with the Spurs on the money line here?
In my non-biased Kings future mind, I think the Spurs roll this game. I think they're gonna win by a lot. Yeah, you know what's so funny? When I knew it, obviously we had the show every day almost now, but when I checked it and I was like, oh, let me talk the Kings future with Willie. Who do the Suns have today? And I was like, but I
already knew. I know.
I forgot.
I
forgot when they played them, and
they're gonna lose one. We're fine.
Yeah, it would be fine. But yeah, it's not gonna be this game. As scary as it is, I was actually looking at like some of these KD unders. I love KD, one of the best players ever. But 26.5 in a game that they should really rest them the entire second, third, and fourth quarters. Like this should be a game where they start off so hot where hopefully, like if you're getting 26.5, I think it's like one of those games where it's such a plus matchup for Booker, even Paul in the pull up, Ayton down low with at the rim, where maybe he doesn't play as much. Maybe KD sees like 20 6 minutes in this game, just because I mean he's the guy that you gotta keep healthy. I mean you saw him slip on this floor a few weeks ago, so you don't want him to go down in a meaningless game before the playoffs.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys something. It's super degenerate, right? And I started looking at this market by accident. A while ago, I placed a bet and I thought I placed the money line. And I go and look and I'm reading it. And I was like, last team to score. And I put in a parlay. I kind of like the Spurs to be the last team to score because I've been monitoring a little bit more. Because what happens
as soon
in the
as
game,
you started saying that, I was like, oh, this guy. What are the odds on that, Brad?
minus 150. But
oh my god, you're laying minus 150.
Listen, it always happens where they get blown out, and then there's some guy who takes it. You get at least 2 chances at it, and you know the Suns are not going to try to score on that last possession. They're going to dribble it out.
I will say this though, you're also relying on the C squads of the Spurs to make those baskets.
Matt Bonner.
I'm trying to remember what was the last one that I hit. Man, oh god, it was whoever played Memphis. They beat Memphis as an underdog. They're like a 7-point dog, and Memphis was down by like 15. Didn't care. But the other team, yeah, they sure as heck scored another basket. I was like, no way.
It's just
I actually
total
was
garbage.
kind of on board with that a little bit and tasted minus 150. If it was closer, if it was closer to even,
like a coin flip.
Man. I mean that does show the books are with you though. They agree with your thinking. They have it heavily favored. That's so funny.
Picture maybe Brad that's a fun there at 1 o'clock in the morning rooting for some guy we never heard of to like miss a free throw or something.
Too many times now. It's like, what's crazy is like I don't watch the game until there's 2 minutes left.
That's great.
Like, all right, let's do this, boys.
That's such a funny bet type. That's something I feel like you gotta do for like if you're out at a bar with friends and there's like a late game on. Yeah, and it's like, all right, by the time this game's over, we'll be so far gone. Let's just like root for something funny and just.
I don't like that because you don't have action the whole game. You're just sitting there with no action until like 30 seconds left, maybe. Like that's just
the first time I placed it. I swear to you, it was total accident. And I'm like, man, looking at my money line, and then I go and I'm like, I think we're up by a good amount. Like we were up by a good amount, whoever I bet on, and I was like, oh my god, no. Now I have to wait for them to score the last basket, which they luckily did. But then after that, I just started paying more attention.
So your team that was up big scored the last basket. So your whole theory of the team being down.
No, what I was saying was then I started monitoring it and I was like, wow, it happens a lot where these bad teams score the last basket because they actually try.
I think we got to end the show on that note. I don't think we can.
I don't think we can top it. Yeah, that was the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And I'm actually the worst part is I'm kind of with it. I kind of like it.
Oh, there's something to it. I think
I'm gonna put $10 on it just because
it might be something like imagine like a round robin where you just take like the Spurs tonight, the Trailblazers.
Yeah,
and
too bad they're not plus money.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like, what if you just take all the 14s, just take all of them, parlay them together. For like $5, I don't know. I'm gonna do that tonight. If I can find that bet type, I don't even know where to look.
On that note, boys, we covered all the games. We gave you some thoughts, MVP, some bets. So, Brad, Brian, appreciate you guys. Goldboys live, Pick It Sports, Boom Fantasy. Good luck with all your plays. We'll be back Thursday. See you then.